Good evening, everybody. Happy Saturday to you all. If you guys are anything like I have been recently, it's a little cold outside. Baby, it's cold outside. I really just read, baby, it's cold outside. Well, I'm happy to have you guys here with me tonight as we continue our live read of The Flow, a hedonist guide to Buddhism, meditation, and travels in Thailand. A travelogue memoir by Lawrence Davidson. For those of you guys who have been around with us for these reads, we've been reading this for a little while now. And we are maybe halfway through. What do we think? Yeah, getting close to halfway through. We have seen Larry arrive in Thailand, go through some various places, eat some food, travel through things, meet some locals, get himself a fun case of Buddha Belly, the Hershey squirts, the you don't get out of bed because, and don't go anywhere because, hey, if you're ever more than 5 feet from a bathroom, you're in trouble. Uh, and we have seen Larry go up to the monastery, spend some time there as the oldest of the initiate monks. He got the chance to be the Bante, or kind of the leader of the group, and go and visit Chiang Mai, Chiang Mai, Chiang Mai for a festival and get his head shaved and spend lots of time up at the Buddhist monastery. If you have not had the opportunity to listen in on any of the flow yet, I do recommend, if nothing else, I'd love it if you supported all of it and listened to all of it and commented on the videos and showed the author and myself some love. But if you listen to nothing else, check out Chapter 9. Chapter 9 was a really good chapter. In that one, they had the opportunity as ordained monks to go out to the local villages and collect alms. And it was a meaningful and poignant reminder of some of the importance of why people may give. And I think it was really well written, really well done. And I hope you would enjoy that one as well and maybe get something, just a little something out of it. But tonight, it looks like we will be diving in once again after Larry has left the Buddhist monastery and he has returned to his travels throughout Thailand. Because, of course, it's not just about his visit to the Buddhist monastery. His plan was to get there a little bit early, spend some time in Thailand before going up to the monastery, and then spend a while traveling Thailand after the monastery. And that is what he did. We've seen a little bit of that, him going to a cooking class with a couple of the other Buddhist monks that he met as initiates. And now we're going to go in and watch and listen as he travels through other parts of Thailand. A couple of quick reminders as we get started today. Make sure you are supporting the author. You can check out his works on Amazon. He's got a website, he's got a Substack. Links in the YouTube videos that I record, and links to some of it in the descriptions on YouTube and Rumble if you are watching on either of those tonight. In addition, we are dealing with travels in Thailand, which means we are coming across terms in Buddhism, Pali, Thai, that frankly, I don't speak. Not familiar with the words themselves. I ask that you give a little grace as I do my best to be respectful of the pronunciations of the words I do not know. I'm happy to take some corrections if you have them for me, as long as they are respectful corrections as well. You can put those into the chat, and I will be happy to check them out between chapters. Has to be between chapters because, once again, I record these, which means I'm not going to stop in the middle of the recording to go and check out the word. But I will be happy to correct myself as best I can between chapters. And now, everyone, wherever you happen to be in this world, get yourself a hot drink or a cold drink, bundle up in a blanket or something cozy, put your feet up, sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we dive into another live reading of The Flow, a hedonist guide to Buddhism, meditation, and travels in Thailand, a travelogue memoir by Lawrence Davidson. Tonight, starting in Chapter 10, Chiang Rai and the Golden Triangle. I'm not who I was before the moon followed me across oceans. It's strange what changes when that same light hits us upon different ground. Heading up into Chiang Rai, the northernmost province of Thailand, and home to the northernmost city of size, the provincial population hovers around 200,000. Thus, it is tiny compared to the urban hubs of Chiang Mai, Nakhon Ratchasima, Nonthaburi, or, of course, the behemoth, Bangkok. Still, it punches above its weight historically. Chiang Rai was founded in 1262 as the seat of the Lan Na Kingdom, which makes it, like so many places in Southeast Asia, ancient enough to make American history an irrelevant footnote. When I first started planning that leg of the journey, I didn't consider Chiang Rai that much. I knew I'd swing through the area to check out the Golden Triangle, but my expectations were minimal. However, thanks mostly to the chorus of online tourist reviews declaring, you only need a couple of days in Chiang Rai at the most. There's not much to do. That made me wonder. In travel speak, that kind of disdain is often code for, I never got off the bus long enough to actually look around. That kind of clickbait dismissiveness piqued my curiosity. If most tourists say it's skippable, odds are good it's the exact opposite. I delved a little deeper, and what I discovered made me rethink everything. I decided I'd be spending at least a week there. The best way to get from Chiang Mai to Chiang Rai, if you're not in the mood to rent a car or join the testosterone and adrenaline cult known as motorbiking, is a comfortable 4-hour bus ride. I splurged the extra $2 for the VIP bus, which came with reclining seats and air conditioning. The total fare for the ride was not reasonably priced, it was cheap. The journey was officially listed as 3.5 hours in duration, but thanks to a massive highway infrastructure project, a broad concrete snake on high rise pylons being built on top of the old road, it's closer to 4. This new elevated freeway was poised to bypass every small village and roadside noodle and snack shack in its path. I couldn't help but wonder what would happen to those microeconomies once the traffic sailed overhead. For now, though, the new highway looked like a public works mega project powered entirely by human muscle. It seemed like every able bodied man, woman, and child in the province was out there mixing cement, hauling rebar, and building supports. None of it with the help of heavy machinery. It was surreal, impressive, and mildly terrifying all at once. Chiang Rai province is largely agricultural. Historically, that meant rice, tea, tobacco, and, once upon a less regulated time, opium poppies as far as the eye could see. That all changed decades ago when the government cracked down on poppy production and offered financial incentives and education programs to coax farmers into growing less narcotic crops. Today, roughly 70% of the region's population is part of what's called the informal workforce, cultivating coffee, tea, pineapple, papaya, mango, jackfruit, rice, and wheat, with a nod to sustainable and environmentally sound practices, which is adorable, considering the widespread use of crop burning. Between the smoke pouring out of northern Thailand and the bonus plumes drifting over from Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar, the entire region turns into a post apocalyptic smog machine come spring. Every year, the smoke sends thousands to the hospital, and more than a few to the crematorium. Environmentally sound indeed. My plan was delightfully vague: tramp around rice fields, tour tea plantations, and find a waterfall or two to perch under in one of the region's many national parks. In other words, chill, relax, and let adventure do what it does best: sneak up unannounced. The bonus? All those "you only need 6 hours to see Chiang Rai" reviews meant there would be fewer tourists clogging the paths and views. Anyone I did run into would be a traveler, not a tourist, a critical distinction. Travelers tend to carry curiosity and journals. Tourists carry schedules and complaints. But the reason I came this far north was the alluring temptation of the Golden Triangle. I wanted to stand at the nexus of three ancient countries: Thailand, Myanmar, and Laos, on a spit of Thai soil and gaze across the Mekong as it heaved its brown muscle through the hills, carrying silt and centuries of ghosts of millions of transactions, both legal and otherwise. Disembarking at the Chiang Rai bus terminal, roll on suitcase in hand and day pack slung over one shoulder, I strolled away from the hawks, those savvy drivers aggressively stuffing gawking tourists and backpackers into cabs at scalper prices. I needed a ride too, but I've learned a thing or two during my travels. You never grab a ride on the first go round. That's when they smell fresh meat, circling like sharks about to launch into a frenzy. I walked around the corner and made a tactical stop at the nearest 7-Eleven. Gatorade, snack, curb, smoke. I sat like a chess player waiting for the board to shift. My destination was a well rated guest house, a few clicks away. Not quite walking distance, but doable if need be. As predicted, the same tuk tuks and cabs that had just unloaded their human cargo returned for another round as the next bus load emptied into the terminal. They were now circling back and pulling into the 7-Eleven for their own refueling: beer, pork rinds, smokes, and a lottery ticket for fantasy kicks. One guy plopped down next to me with a smile that was 80% teeth and 20% "how much can I extract from you without triggering a diplomatic incident?" He circled conversationally, then pounced. "You need a ride?" "Sure," I said casually. "How much to Gita's guest house?" He quoted 150 baht. Bless him. I laughed out loud and shook my head. "No thanks. I'll walk. It's only a few kilometers." I returned my gaze back to my phone, looking utterly unbothered. He studied me like a math problem with a hidden trick, took a drag of his smoke and a long pull from his tiger. Okay, he said, dropping the price to 50 baht, the locals rate. I smiled, nodded, and we shook on it. You visiting family? He asked as we stood. Why? You act like a local coming home, he said. That made me laugh. I explained my strategy. He grinned wide and said, You one of the good ones. Want a beer? And just like that, we were drinking lagers on the curb outside a 7-Eleven in northern Thailand like old pals. His name was Nam, and he turned out to be good company and a fun guy to with during my time in Chiang Rai. Gita's guest house, tucked along Kaloi Soi 12, is technically a yoga retreat, and though it's rated a modest 3 stars, you'd never know it. Overflowing gardens, immaculate rooms, peace, and quiet. The place had glowing reviews for being clean, central, and relaxing, so I never understood the 3 star ratings. But it played well into my hands when making the reservation, as my 8 nights in Chiang Rai would be uninterrupted with a relocation. I'm not exactly a yoga guy, but I figured I might stretch into a class or two. At the very least, it looked like a perfect place to lay low and decompress. I would be slow traveling Chiang Rai, so the idea of bouncing between accommodations like I did in bigger cities didn't appeal. Everything I wanted was within walking, biking, tuk tuk, scooter, or grab car distance. It was late in the afternoon, and I was feeling a little worn and frayed. My previous night in Chiang Mai may have included a little too much fun. After checking in and meeting the staff, I knew I'd be staying in for the night, post dinner. Everyone at Gita's was warm and professional in that effortlessly Thai way that somehow makes you feel both pampered and humbled at once. Room number 7 was large and spotless, Spartan yet well appointed. The bathroom boasted a large walk in shower with excellent pressure and actual hot water, a true rarity in Southeast Asia, where warmish is usually as good as it gets. Realistically, that's all you need, because it feels great compared to the heat and humidity that's your daily companion. The room was modest, thoughtfully arranged, and while the bed was therapeutically hard enough to realign a chiropractor, the place oozed quiet charm and no nonsense comfort. Between the serenity, the creepers and flowers spilling over every available spot hanging on the grounds, and the friendliness of the staff, I decided this would definitely be a good base for the duration. Once I unpacked, I wandered down the street and around the corner, an area I'd scoped out earlier from the back of Nom's emerald city green, glitter dusted tuk tuk. I'd spotted a clutch of neighborhood food carts just around the corner, drawing a crowd of locals, which is always a green light. Dinner was stir fried noodles with vegetables, a few perfectly crisped fried chicken legs and thighs, and a sack of mangoes, oranges, and a watermelon so heavy I carried it like a newborn. I ambled back to Gita's, ready to eat, stash, crash, and reset. I flipped on the TV for some background noise with dinner, which quickly turned into entertainment in its own right. Thai soap operas are a psychedelic mess of glossy hair, sequined wardrobes, and melodrama so over the top it makes Days of Our Lives look like a stoic BBC documentary. Even without subtitles, I knew exactly what was happening. Someone had stolen someone else's baby, poisoned a lover's soup, and was about to be run over by a pickup truck driven by their long lost twin. I've long suspected these shows are Thailand's answer to Bollywood, and they're giving it a run for its rhinestone money. I rose early to a fresh, sun drenched morning, the grounds alive with birdsong. I enjoyed a healthy breakfast before heading out the door to explore. Chiang Rai is a gorgeous, broad tree lined boulevards with sidewalks that aren't broken up at odd angles, waiting for the unwary walker to twist an ankle. I stumbled across a painted path in blue, like a bike lane except for walkers, leading down a road lined with massive old trees, stately homes, a museum, a park, and small businesses. The thoughtfulness of mapping out a well defined path for the pedestrian was something I had not seen before in Thailand. Chiang Rai is clean and tidy. Many of the houses I walked past made it clear there was serious pride in neighborhood and ownership. I made a 2 hour circumnavigation of the area, going up this street, then another, and another, taking note of the alleys from which the best smells wafted. Along one major artery, I found a southern style barbecue joint with a big hardwood pit out back. There were burgers and fries, shakes, noodles, soups, two fish restaurants, and three fry places, a multitude of coffee shops and bakeries, of course, a 7-Eleven. As an added bonus, a sushi bar that, when I looked it up, had rave reviews. My new neighborhood would do nicely. I picked up a couple of munchies for the fridge back in my room and headed to the place down an alley where I first smelled the aroma of wood smoke and saw a dozen glossy mahogany red glazed ducks hung, ready for the cleaver. It was still early, around 9 a.m., but it was packed with locals. Score! I pointed to the roast duck noodle soup on the picture menu. It was all in Thai, which meant I had no idea how to pronounce what I wanted, and waited for transcendence in a bowl. I was not disappointed. A delicate yet deeply flavored ducky stock, the surface glistening with little floating bubbles of aromatic fat, a bed of thick, slippery rice noodles piled high, which held the duck above the soup, keeping the skin crunchy. Fantastic! A great breakfast and a start to the day if ever there was one. After duck and noodles, I stopped into a small coffee shop. I wasn't going to coffee up, but the speakers outside had the Ramones singing Gabba Gabba Hey, my kind of place. As I sat sipping a ridiculously rich cappuccino, I watched local life stroll by. Moms with strollers, older kids in their uniforms taking a snack break from school, the chef across the street sharpening his knives on a spinning stone, a fine, wiry fellow with a deeply weathered face, his muscles taut like piano strings, pulled a handcart loaded with vegetables, stopping every few yards as restaurateurs came out to refill their stocks for lunch and dinner crowds. Everyone smiling, saying, Sawat, Sawat di ka or Sawat di krab. Finishing my Java, I continued along my way for an hour, finding the Coke River. Yeah, sure, insert joke here. More parks, a couple of schools with the gleeful sounds of recess induced shouts of games and laughter merging into the sounds of lives being led. The small canals throughout the neighborhood where I was staying had bird life flitting in and out of the foliage. I headed back to Gita's house for the afternoon. After a wonderful meditation session, I sat and read my newest bookstore find, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, under a pergola that was covered with climbing vines and orchids. I whittled away a relaxed afternoon in peace. My evening had plans. As dusk fell, I headed out on foot to find the main drag, Fatolothin Road, where the Saturday night bazaar lit the evening with magic. The night market had the reputation for high quality goods, featuring handcrafted clothing, leather and jewelry, local hill tribe crafts, a great food court, and quality art. It was about 4 kilometers down the way, but I'd already covered that ground that morning. As I neared the market area, a busy lane with colorful hanging lanterns floating above the roadway, stretching down 8 or 10 blocks. Beautifully lit up, the main road had a festive atmosphere to it. Granted, Christmas was only a couple of weeks away and had been heartily embraced by commercial interests throughout Thailand, and yet the pictures I had scouted up on the web showed that even without a festive holiday season in full swing, the area was normally active and alight with shops open late from Thursday through Sunday, packed with people eating, drinking, and shopping. An interesting thing to note about Chiang Rai, with its much smaller tourism numbers, is that this 20-block zone of activity seemed to be mostly local supported. I found the night market. That was easy, with its 4 block long, vibrant, and fun walking street, lined on both sides with vendors. Those tied into side courtyards, also packed with vendors. Everything was lit up, the displays of goods beautifully put together with artful presentation. The quality of wares was evident. I took mental notes on items I'd pick up before leaving Chiang Rai and found my way through inner courtyards until I found the big food court with about 75 independent stalls, according to a rapid count. It was time to crush the growling hole in my stomach and order up something delicious. First up was a bowl of Malay style goat's head soup, soup kambing mamak, something I had not come across so far in my travels. The owner must have liked me, or wanted to see if I'd flinch, because I got an eyeball, one of the prizes of this dish, and usually reserved for someone special. It was better than delicious. It was sublime, a complex bowl of soup that hit all the right spots in flavor and body, masterfully cooked. I thought she was trying to freak the farong out, eyeing me with her friends as I scooped up the eye, popped it into my mouth, and gave her a thumbs up. She smiled and gave me a thumbs up back. Next up was a banh mi sandwich from a Vietnamese stall where I swear they were pumping out the aroma of their baguettes with a hidden fan into the crowd. I had a Pavlovian response, immediately craving one. I ordered up a classic banh mi with everything. The fantastic homemade liver pate spread, pickled radish and onion, cucumber, green chili pepper, smoky marinade pork shoulder, fresh herbs, and a bright dash of Maggi sauce made that sandwich sing. The crunch on that airy Vietnamese roll was ethereal, the fillings perfectly balanced and robust. After the first tester bite, I scarfed that sandwich down as if I hadn't eaten in a week. After a little break, I found a guy frying up small balls of dough with river prawn in them. They were lighter than air as I them into a homemade red chili sambal. Scorching sweet heat, but with complex depth and flavor. Last up was to search out some mango. Now I know you've had mango and what's not to love about mangoes. In Thailand, I'm positive it's a crime to serve a bad mango. The mangoes in Thailand are the best I've ever eaten anywhere on the planet, including in Mexico while sitting in the orchard where they were being plucked off the tree in front of me. Those don't even come close to what Thailand grows. Dripping and pornographically sweet, creamy flesh with just the right texture. Simply pure, candied, creamy mango dripping down your face and fingers with each bite. I tried to buy mangoes separately, but the couple at the cart would only sell them with sticky rice. So I ordered two, and like I did several times before in Chiang Mai, when no one was looking, I tossed the rice with the sweetened coconut cream and devoured the mangoes on their own. I like rice, but I love the mangoes. I dream of them to this day. Feeling full and ready for bed, I headed back out through the throng of people still shopping and haggling for goods along the pedestrian lane to Faholothin Road, the one with the beautiful hanging lanterns. After a bit of good natured jostling through the crowd, I made it to the main drag with the idea to head back the way I had come. But the voice in my head said, turn left, not right, instead. I listened and explored the blocks further along the way. What a series of glorious finds to behold! A wine shop, a raw silk shop where an older gentleman was hand weaving scarves, an expat bar with a bunch of ruddy faced dudes watching sports. I quickly passed that by. A smoke shop with a big glass jars of loose leaf tobaccos. A leather shop that smelled fantastic. A couple of massage parlors, an ice cream shop, a pharmacy, and more. It was there that I stumbled across a Chinese restaurant where, in the big pane window, cooks were pulling noodles by hand. One of the Nirvana finds for foodies all over the globe. Then, two doors down, an Indian restaurant where the aromas drifting out the door were magnificent, rich, and complex. I knew I'd be spending time along this stretch of road until I had exhausted my options. I was salivating, but not hungry. An important distinction at all times, but a very important line in the sand in Thailand, where the smells alone could trigger lustful addiction, binge eating like few others things can. But I'd already gorged myself at the food court, and I wasn't about to ruin a perfectly good future appetite by pushing it. I turned to head back up the road when a scooter came screaming down the sidewalk, clipped me like a bowling pin, and sent me sprawling. I didn't hear it coming. There had been too much ambient chaos, grilled meat sizzling, tuk-tuks buzzing by, a car honking like a wounded animal, music blaring from shops, somebody's baby crying close by, and that ever-present hum of every city alive at night. What surprised me most wasn't the pain. I'd taken worse spills doing dumber things, but the pure operatic rage that followed. Not from me, not from the scooter driver now laying dazed on the pavement next to the scooter, its wheels still spinning. No, the fury came from a tiny woman in a flowered dress who'd been lounging outside her massage parlor, cheerfully beckoning me in just a moment before. She went full gladiator as she strode over like a general surveying a battlefield, and then whap! Started smacking the helmeted rider's head like it was a percussion instrument. Every time the poor bastard tried to get up, she knocked him back down with the righteous fury of someone who's had more than enough. I stepped in as my Buddha nature kicked into gear. I wasn't hurt, just scuffed up and slightly stunned, and the helmet beating felt a bit excessive. Massage lady didn't see it that way. Even after I wedged myself between her and the scooter hooligan, she kept hollering past me like a street prophet with a grudge. Eventually, I got her to pause long enough for a truce. She grabbed my hands, inspected the scrapes like I was war wounded and needed a field medic. Satisfied that I was mostly intact, she spun back to scream at the fallen rider some more. That's when the rider stood up and removed her helmet. "Oh, God, are you okay?" she said in perfectly crisp English, with a curious Thai meets Eton boarding school accent you find in families with diplomatic passports. I was immediately, and perhaps irresponsibly, smitten. She had long, silken black hair, a dazzling smile, and a look of genuine concern that made me feel like I'd just been hit by a very polite angel on two wheels. Then Scooter Demon turned and shouted, "Mom, stop! It was an accident. The throttle stuck. I couldn't stop," and pulled her still screaming mother into a tight bear hug before the older woman could land another blow. Mom. The woman beating her with a diminutive hand was her mother. The entire surreal crash, then street brawl, was suddenly cast in a much softer light. Maternal rage. Southeast Asian edition. It also meant Mom spoke English just fine and had been screaming out earlier with Thai Mom fury. Excellent. What a strange night. Amanda, the now former Scooter Menace, apologized en loop, visibly mortified. She righted her scooter with an efficient flick onto its stand, then gently grabbed my wrist and guided me two doors down to the pharmacy where she unleashed a volley of rapid fire Thai at the pharmacist. In under 5 minutes, my hand was cleaned, disinfected, and wrapped like I'd just finished a back alley boxing match. We returned to the scene of the crime. Amanda's mother sighed, tisked, and shook her head, a gesture that somehow managed to convey annoyance, affection, and at least three different kinds of disapproval at once. A universal mom move. Language not required. One minute we were hand in hand on the sidewalk as Amanda apologized over and over again. The next thing I knew, we were inside a dim, cool cave of a bar soaked in Jamaican regalia, posters of Marley, UB40, Yellow Man, and Steel Pulse, faded flags in red, green, and gold, handwritten graffiti from visitors past all over the walls and ceiling, and a speaker system pumping Peter Tosh's Don't Look Back filled the air. They called it the Reggae Bar. No points for originality, but it worked. Before I could orient myself, a large ice cold Leo appeared in front of me. Remember, kids, hydration is important, especially when it comes with a side of ice cubes and a shot of Thai rum. Then came the questions. Amanda. Nim, the bartender, a few local pool sharks with quick eyes and easy laughs, and various other travelers who looked like they'd wandered in months ago and couldn't find their way out past the haze of ganja smoke. All of them wanted to know me and what I was doing hand in hand with one of their favorite locals. Where was I from? Did I like Chiang Rai? What had I seen? I hated disappointing them. I'd just arrived the day before, but I was open to suggestions, which earned me another Leo. Then another shot of Thai rum slipped in, ninja style. Then another. Then another. Somewhere in there, I think I learned someone's life story, lost a game of pool, and I remember drawing the line at karaoke with a hard no. But then again, with more rum and beer flowing, anything's possible. Even that. Amanda was watching me the whole time. That smile, part mischief, part charm offensive, never left her face. She was alarmingly beautiful, dangerously witty, and unnervingly direct. Every time I looked her way, she was already looking back, like she was reading the next page of a book I hadn't written yet. We became friends the way you sometimes do in places like this. Quickly, without much pretense, with just enough rum to grease the connection. When she found out I was staying at Gita's, whose owner was an old friend of hers, she laughed. I know how to find you, she said. What room are you in? Over the next week, we became pool playing, beer drinking, rum shooting co conspirators. Through Amanda, I folded into the bar's unofficial traveler tribe Swedes, a Palestinian whose best friend was Israeli, Ukrainians, Italians, a Kiwi who looked like he'd been shipwrecked for years, a couple of Canadians who swore a lot but meant well. Every single one of them turned out to be good people, curious, open, and absolutely floored when they found out I'd been a Buddhist monk up in the mountains. They didn't believe me until I showed them photos. Shaved head, robes, the whole monk in the mountains package. Amanda burst out laughing, then kissed me full on the mouth. I've always wanted to kiss a monk, she said. That got a cheer from the peanut gallery and a free round from Nim. The reggae bar became my nightly ritual. Days were for wandering, exploring, eating, pretending I was doing something meaningful. I mean, I was. I was researching northern Thailand for this book, after all. But the nights were for Leos, laughter, and conversations that didn't need to go anywhere. Chiang Rai was small. It had everything I wanted and more. Even Nam Parawachidan, my tuk-tuk buddy and unofficial night watchman, was a regular at the reggae bar. He never drank, not well on duty, anyway. Just sipped his soda water and swapped stories like a sober helmsman at a table of pirates. He took me under his wing without asking, the way older Thai men sometimes do when they've decided you're worth the trouble. Nam filled in the gaps. History, rumors, the best places for real Keosoi, the ones tourists never found. He made sure I got back to Gita's every night, often waving off my attempts to pay. The standard outsider fare was a flat 100 baht or more, even for a ride barely longer than choking down a cigarette. I always gave him 40. It was the least I could do. Somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like an intruder. I wasn't local, not by any stretch, but I'd been absorbed into their orbit, invited in just enough to stop feeling like a traveler. A name, a bar stool, a familiar face on the street. That's the closest thing to home you can ask for on the road. The next day, after my visit to the White Temple, which, for the record, you'll find in the What's Up Doc chapter, I retreated to my guest house for some high level loafing back under the gazebo. But the night, I had plans. Big ones. It was noodle time. I took a leisurely walk using a different path, one that was a little out of the way, to explore other avenues and alleys. I was headed back to Fahalothin Road to Lanzhou Noodles, where chefs were hand pulling stretchy dough in the windows. Talk about an excellent marketing strategy. If you've never had hand pulled noodles, you're missing out on one of life's great edible miracles. Forget the instant ramen and mass produced noodles you find in most restaurants that are made en masse at some factory sweatshop. This is high art in carb form. Here's how it goes down: start with a hunk of dough, fist sized, thick as a banana. Grab an end in each hand and pull until your arms stretch wide. Bounce it like a jump rope to keep the elasticity alive. Then fold it, stretch it again, and repeat. Each pull folds and fold doubles the strands, each bounce coaxing the gluten gods to cooperate. You want them thin, medium, wide like a belt? It's all in the hands. When the dough's been pulled to perfection, the chef rips off the ends like he's breaking apart edible shoelaces, fluffs the noodles like a magician revealing the trick, and drops a whole glorious mess into a wire basket. Then the cauldron lineup: 6 massive pots, each with its own stock. Beefy, porky, chicken, mushroom, a blend or veggie delight for those who disdain meat. Brothy, spicy, subtle. Customer's choice. Noodles in, wait a minute, then out into a bowl with a ladle of molten heaven and your pick of meat and or veggies. Sounds easy? It's not. It takes years to pull noodles like that. More years to make the dough right. Even more to nail the stocks. This isn't fast food. It's kung fu with carbs and bones. Watching a noodle master do his thing from a foot away turns dinner into theater. Lanzhou doesn't just serve food, they put on a show. I ordered braised tripe and tongue salad. Delicious? Yes, but deeply offensive to anyone raised on chicken tenders. While I waited for the main event, I soaked in the show, bowl after steaming bowl parading out of the kitchen to other, luckier mouths. It hurt. Not real heartbreak, but that childhood grade ache. The Christmas Eve kind. The squirmy, irrational desperation of, please let it be my turn next. Some feelings never outgrow us. They just throw on adult clothes and wait impishly for noodles. Finally, it was my turn. My server arrived bearing a tray from heaven. On it, a bowl the size of a small basin, steam rising from broth glistening with flavor bobs of braised fat. Next to it, a plate of toppings that should have been gilded: fried pork shoulder, braised beef short ribs, wilted morning glory shoots, scallions, a soy marinated egg boiled to that sweet spot between jammy and firm, and chilies, red and green bird's eyes, ready to torch your soul if you got cocky. I looked at that table like a man seeing Nibbana in a bowl of soup. She turned to go. I attacked it like an Olympic diver breaking the surface head first. No hesitation. My chopsticks and spoon were a blur, cartoonishly fast and unapologetically noisy. Because, yes, I've mastered the noble art of the noodle slurp. Loud and proud. It's not just acceptable here, it's expected. It's how you say, this is delicious, when words are completely inadequate. And when food hits like that, words are definitely inadequate. The noodles were heavenly. I'd gone with the normal sized noodles, not too thin, those can overcook and dissolve into sad starchy strands. Not too wide, gut bomb territory. The right tender to chew ratio, a noodle Goldilocks would die for. The beef stock was a deep, soulful punch of flavor, rich, umami heavy, a hug and a haymaker all at once. Instead of dropping the pork, shoulder, and ribs into the broth, I just gnawed on them directly like some caveman gourmand, dipping them into the broth for additional flavor bursts. The marinated egg and greens made it into the soup. Balance, right? I was halfway through my bowl, completely entranced, when the waitress wandered over and asked if I wanted more soup or noodles. She told me they were free. Just say the word. Of course, I said yes. I thought I'd get a little top up, A tasteful encore. Wrong. A whole second helping of noodles appeared. My stomach let out a foreboding groan. I stared at the bowl like a man staring up at at an 8,000-meter Himalayan peak, knowing he had only flip-flops and ego to get him to the top. I adjusted strategy. No longer a sprint. This was a slow, methodical noodle marathon. An hour later, I tapped out. Not from lack of desire, just sheer physical inability. I couldn't do it. Even my food lust had a limit. Things had slowed in the kitchen by then, so I waddled over to the pass and asked if I could film the chef pulling noodles. He grinned and asked, "You a Giants or A's fan?" What the hell? He laughed, said he'd grown up in both Shanghai and Oakland, and claimed he could hear a San Francisco accent a mile away. Giants all the way, my man. And thanks for the noodles. They were perfect. Come on. Billy Martin, McGuire, Conseco, the Catfish, Ricky Henderson. Chef challenged. All legends, sure, but none of them touch Mays and McCovey. What about Will the Thrill? Best swing in baseball, I offered in retort. There I was, 5,000 miles from home, stuffed to the gills with noodles, arguing baseball in a Chiang Rai noodle joint with a Chinese American chef who'd memorized the '89 AL roster. The universe is strange and occasionally perfect. This conversation needs a beer or three, I asked him. What time are you off? 10 minutes. Gotta brief the closers. Then I'm down. Don't get many city kids in here. 15 minutes later, Chef Chu and I were at the reggae bar, trading stories over beers. Bay Area dive bars, playoff heartbreaks, noodle shop gossip, football, food, life. At one point, he asked me what my favorite restaurants in San Francisco were. I threw the question back at him. Back and forth we went, debating who had the best Chiapino. Tadiches, if you have to ask. Dungeness crab cakes, dumplings versus taquerias, noodle broth hierarchies, and where to find the best late night eats in the mission. Eventually, I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was 3:30 a.m. The reggae bar, still buzzing, clearly didn't give a damn about the 2 a.m. closing law. When I asked Chu about his week, he said he was flying out later that afternoon. First to Shanghai to visit family, then to Lanzhou to spend a few weeks at the chain's flagship shop. The head chef was getting married, and there was no apprentice ready to step up. Timing's a bitch. Still, before we parted ways, he leaned in, raised his bottle, and gave me the kind of send off that makes the world feel a little less large. Table four's yours when you're back in town. The next day, once the grogginess, the hangover, wore off, I grabbed one of the guest house's old rickety bicycles and pedaled off toward the old clock tower, one of Chiang Rai's main attractions. It's big, ornate, and it's unapologetically gold. Blindingly gold. I checked that one off the list. I did see it again a couple nights later, lit up like Vegas meets Asian overkill bling. There were hundreds of bats flitting around the glow, feasting on mosquitoes like it was an all you can eat buffet. Following the balletic interplay of those bats was something special and something that everyone should see once in their life. It's quite an amazing show. I was walking the bike along a sidewalk when I noticed a very narrow, grimy alley leading into what looked like a market. Curiosity beat caution. I locked the bike and followed the covered alley through the maze of stalls until it opened into a covered, sprawling wet market. This was Chiang Rai's culinary underbelly, and not a tourist in sight. This wasn't curated for Instagram. This was real. Fish, fowl, and meat were butchered on the spot. Vegetables and fruits, some familiar, some completely alien, piled high in a kaleidoscope of colors. The smell was strong. The energy was pure. If I'd had access to a kitchen, I would have left with bags of protein and produce and whipped up a stir fry. Instead, I sat down on a plastic stool in front of a food stall run by a young woman slinging bowls of noodles with greens and broth. Yes, more noodles. Don't judge me. They're cheap, they're delicious, and they go with everything, especially hunger. I picked her stall out of the dozens slinging bowls and plates because three Thai police officers were eating there. Travel tip: eat where the cops eat. She didn't speak English, and my Thai was still limited to sub toddler level. So I pointed at one officer's bowl and gave him a hopeful thumbs up. He chuckled and, in broken English, asked where I was from. We managed a decent conversation in a language that was about 40% words and 60% facial expressions. The soup was fantastic. His buddies slid the condiment tray toward me and showed me how to customize the bowl like a local: fish sauce, vinegar with chilies, palm sugar, and crushed peanuts. I thanked them for their company and made my way back to the bike. I rode around aimlessly, stopping to peek into a courtyard decorated like a North Pole Christmas explosion. Fake snow, elves, reindeer, a Santa that looked like he had just survived a bar fight, and giant plastic candy canes marking off the path. Hallmark on mushrooms. Eventually, I found a peaceful park with a pond full of turtles, fish, egrets, and a fountain that shot water high into the sky like it was trying to pierce the heat itself. Taking a deep breath, I sat on the lawn and slipped into meditation. That night, I ventured back downtown and wound up forgetting dinner. Well, I didn't forget, but I stopped in at the reggae bar ostensibly for a beer, and didn't leave until Nam dragged me out at 2 a.m., where he unceremoniously dumped me at the gate to Gita's, laughing as he drove away. Oops. I meant to go grab a bite, but Amanda and a few of her girlfriends showed up, and things happened. Mid morning found me on the veranda with a huge bottle of fridge chilled water, another Gatorade, and more than a few aspirins rattling around in my system. I tried to ease into the day with a book and some deep, contemplative self pity. Something in the pages whispered that tonight called for Indian food, something rich, spicy, fortifying, and healing. And luckily, I knew just where to find it. I texted Amanda, who said she'd love to join me. ACCHA Indian Restaurant was a block down from Lansao Noodles. I'd spotted it during my initial night of wanderings, right before getting mowed down by Amanda. The aromas drifting from the ornately carved wooden doors were unbelievable. I'd fallen in love with the incredible flavors of India's cuisine when I lived in London in the early 80s, playing in a punk band. At the time, the British culinary scene hadn't yet grown up. Marco Pierre White hadn't ushered in the modern wave of world-class British cuisine, and Fergus Henderson wasn't even on the radar. Back then, the best that the UK had to offer were fish and chips, which, to be fair, were excellent, and steak and kidney pies, which sometimes weren't. Everything else was overpriced hotel fare or French and Italian spots I couldn't afford. But the Indian restaurants? My God, they were everywhere like taquerias in California. They were cheap, delicious, and smartly run with heavy meals served with loads of rice, lunch openings followed by a dinner service that ran late into the night to catch pubgoers stumbling out at 11 p.m. with a buzz and a craving for a meal. I got hooked. Hard. The spices, the sauces. I formed a lifelong bond with those dishes. When I got back home to San Francisco, I went to my favorite bookstore on Clement Street to hunt down an Indian cookbook. The owner knew exactly what I needed and ordered me a couple by the legendary Madhur Jeffrey. A week later, I picked them up, then spent months tracking down the right spices and teaching myself to make some of my favorite dishes from scratch. I even came up with a cast iron pan sheet for naan since I didn't have a tandoor. I still have those two well worn books today. Why am I telling you all of this? Because I know Indian food. I know how it's supposed to smell, taste, and feel. When I stood outside ACCHA with that heady aroma of cumin, coriander, cardamom, cinnamon, onion, garlic, and ghee brushed bread wafting out the door and glanced over the menu, I knew I'd found the real deal. Surrounded by beautiful Indian design aesthetics, sitar music flowing softly through the room, Amanda and I got to catch up about her life, which we hadn't delved into last night, mainly because we had been busy drinking with her girlfriends. She'd been buried in work because one employee left and another got fired, so the bar was a pressure cooker blow off where personal issues dared not vent. We poured over the menu together, but Amanda admitted she wasn't too familiar with Indian cuisine. I explained what each dish was, but at one point she gave up. You order, I'll eat anything, she said, locking eyes with me. No blink, but a big smile. My pulse ticked up a notch. Game on. The meal was spot on perfect. We shared madras lamb curry, tandoori chicken, a mushroom tikka masala, saffron basmati rice, and papadum with that glorious spread of spicy mango, hot eggplant, and mint chutneys. We added plain and onion naan, mango lassi, and a few cold tiger beers. Every dish hit the mark. The curries were rich, complex, and spicy, just how I'd asked for it. Somehow, the naan stole the show. Blistered and crispy on the outside, pillowy inside. The onion naan was even better. The allium sweetness coaxed out from slow sweating the onions. 10 stars. If the rating systems allowed it, I'd give 11. After dinner, of course, we wound up back at the reggae bar, where we ran into Pascal, a lovable Swiss lunatic on a quest to bicycle through the entirety of Asia. Many of the locals knew of the restaurant but had never eaten there. That changed quickly. After that night, ACCHA was going to be a regular stop for everyone in that circle, and deservedly so. The Golden Triangle. There are places in life where you know you'll never see again. When you have an ideal firmly planted in your brain, something that fired your imagination long ago, maybe in Boy's Life, High Times, or National Geographic, and you finally get there. It is never quite the vision you cooked up, no matter how much YouTube deep diving or measured hyperbolic research and study you do. The Golden Triangle, for me, was one of those mystical places, almost a Shangri La, a place steeped in so much mystery and history that it forces you to reckon with the truth that legend is born from reality, with a vast time frame in between, distorted and twisted, as fact flows into fiction. The Mekong, a legendary river steeped in lore rushing down from the high Himalayan Tibetan plateau, irrigating China, Laos, Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Vietnam, was, for me, such a place. It's more than a legend, more than a river. It's the aorta of a continent, the lifeblood for millions, generation after generation, living for the most part deeply rural lives. Lives where what we take for granted, continuous electricity, clean water, supermarkets, and paved roads as norms, those social constructs that have no place, no voice in the daily reality for the generations of families for whom the Mekong has provided everything. I was naive enough to believe that I would pull up to some remote Valhalla vista, see the countries, all of whom in this region produced for a very long time almost all of the world's opium, and gaze upon vast fields of colorful poppies swaying gently in the breeze. This imagined scene has not been true for over 40 years when Thailand, Laos, and Burma, at the time, banned growing the flowers while also banning, under penalty of life in prison, or the merciful option, death, the production of opium. Myanmar is still in that dirty game, even though it's illegal. But crossing the border into Myanmar is a risky, if not downright suicidal venture these days, especially as an American. Extra stupid points awarded if you were doing it just to get high. I made it. I stood at the Thailand point under a huge golden Buddha, serenely gazing over the river, the Golden Triangle. I gazed upon the legend that is the Mekong and felt its history calling to me. I signed up for a longboat tour, climbed aboard, and drank ice cold Lao golden lagers with my new shipmates as we cruised up and down the Mekong for several hours, approaching Myanmar and then Laos at a discreet distance, while the tour operator narrated what we were looking at. All the while, hip hop club music blared away over cheap, scratchy speakers. China, and one particularly money mad connected developer, along with the Laotian government, carved out a special economic zone across the musky and mighty Mekong. Rife with condo towers and casinos, the monstrosity across the river is ready, willing, and able to take any rube's money, as long as you exchange your money for Chinese yuan first. From the outside, it all looked brand spanking new, like the skyline of Miami or a shrunk down Dubai. We were told that aside from the casinos, power was spotty, the food lousy at best, and services were almost non existent. And when you really needed it, like to transfer more money over from your Swiss bank account to pay your casino tab, the Wi Fi was almost always unavailable. Myanmar, by contrast, boasted one dingy, low slung small casino on its riverbank, complete with camo clad guards armed with huge military grade automatic machine guns. And then there's the legendary No Man's Island, agreeably owned by none, in the middle of the river between the three nations, where you can still sidle up and purchase opium if you dare. You have to purchase with gold due to IMF banking regulations geared at slowing the tide of drug money laundering in the region. Myanmar and No Man's Island are both off to the left as you look upriver, while Laos looms directly across the river from the Thailand side, its sparkling new skyline of high rise casinos and condo towers beckoning anyone dumb enough to believe in luck against a casino. I was laughably naive to think I could go to Chiang Sin, slip into a dark storybook past of back alley dens, pampered by the proprietor as I lay on a cot, as a ceiling fan whirled above, chasing the dragon while gazing out, bleary, comfortably numb, upon the vast river that has fueled millions of lives for thousands of years, alongside my own pathetically immature foolish fantasy. And yet, on the Thailand side, to which we were obliged to abide, was still, to a great extent, an innocent throwback. Sure, there was tourism development, but, and this is an important note, Thai style. Dozens of small stalls and shops selling tourist junk, t shirts, elephant pants, and myriad small bite food choices that all smell unfreaking believable. The Thais are smart, and they're not greedy. This seems to be interwoven into their DNA because unless you're an asshole with that big invisible sign saying, "Rip me off for being a rude tourist on the loose," you're golden. The idea of make a little, sell a little, and I don't need a Mercedes to be happy. The Thais call it sabai, and it's about as Buddhist as it comes. The sun was going down, burnishing the Mekong bronze, the lights of the casinos across the river blazing to life. Humming the Strangler's Golden Brown to the world around me, I popped into the ever present 7-Eleven, bought a pint of Johnny Walker Black, wandered back to the riverbank, and sat on a log, listening to the timeless river flow by. Because how many times in life do you get the chance to sip good scotch while gazing at a legend? Chapter 10 done. Wendigo One, if you're still here with us, thanks for following on the Twitch channel. Welcome on in. And now, if you guys are ready, or even if you're not, one more chapter tonight. We'll get through chapter 11. Excuse me. Ah, reading straight does weird things to the voice and face after a while. All right. Are we ready? I'm ready. If you are ready for Chapter 11, Pad Thai and Other Gateway Drugs. Every meal is a love letter. The least you can do is read it with your mouth full. Over the years and across many meals, I've learned a few things about food and about myself through the glorious art of cooking. Yes, I said art, not a task, not a chore, not a life skill you begrudgingly pick up when your microwave dies. Cooking is an art form, one that reveals deep truths about humanity, or at the very least, why some people shouldn't be allowed near a spice rack. Here's one of those universal truths. If you're just eating to live, you're doing it wrong. It doesn't matter how busy you are or how many unread emails are waiting for you. Food is a full body sensory joyride, from aroma to flavor to texture to temperature. It's primal, it's sacred, and if you are shoveling sadness into your mouth while inserting a formula tweak in a spreadsheet on your phone, you might need an intervention. Feed yourself like you give a damn. Better yet, cook something that says I love you for someone else without having to say it out loud. And stop going to McBurg, Nug, Rap, and Zap. Seriously. That stuff will kill you with a side of regret and a garnish of colon cancer. Thailand, blessedly, gets it. Thai people don't just love food, they worship it. And not just their own, though let's be honest, Thai cuisine owns its own celestial tier, but all food. These folks are culinary polytheists. You can be wandering a random soy in Bangkok and stumble across the best wood fired pizza this side of Naples, a shockingly good shawarma joint, a killer ramen cart next to a French crepe wagon, and someone deep frying tarantulas because, hey, why not? I'm not saying you'll find traditional Inuit seal and roast puffin, but give Bangkok 6 months and a craving, and someone will figure it out. This, of course, is not some uniquely Thai affliction. Plenty of cultures are just as food obsessed. Italians, for example, will go to war over who makes the best lasagna. It's whose grandmother is closest to the argument. And the French argue over who makes the best cassoulet. It's always them. But the Thai people, they don't just love food. They worship at the altar with a kind of joyful, all in zeal that puts most foodies to shame. Cooking it, eating it, debating it, and sharing it, even if it's just a rickety sidewalk table and a plate of stir fried something that would make a Michelin spy weep. They're in. You could be sitting alone, mid noodle slurp, and a local will wave you over like you were the long lost cousin they've been waiting for. It happened to me more than once, and not just because I looked pitifully lonely. And when you grasp that Thai food culture began over 14 centuries ago and has been evolving ever since, yeah, they've had time to work out the kinks. Your trendy fusion taco place that opened 6 months ago? The Thai solved that flavor and texture profile back in the 15th century. That taco place is merely catching up. There's a saying in Thailand: Thais eat 8 times a day. They're not kidding, and it's not an exaggeration. Those 8 times a day? They're not full sit down meals, but more like a never ending parade of delicious bits and bites in between life's other duties. A small bowl of something here, a fried nibble there, a bag of little sausages with shredded cabbage, Thai chilies, and lime tossed in for balance. And suddenly it's your seventh snack of the day and you're still going strong. They savor each bite like it's the last taste before the meteor hits. You don't get bored eating like that. You settle into a few go to cravings, but the real fun is throwing out your culinary ew gag reflex and diving headfirst into the unknown. And it's amazing what happens when most of what you feared to eat turns out to be delicious. Over the course of a few months, I munched, slurped, and devoured my way through a sprawling buffet of Thai dishes. Some familiar, while others were completely new to me. A few didn't land. We'll get there. But several were revelations. And just when you think you've figured a dish out, Boom! There's a regional variation that flips it on its head while still staying true to the heart and soul of the core recipe. Thai cuisine is like jazz. It riffs, it plays, it surprises. Thai cuisine greatest hits. Let's begin with the one dish that even the most tragically unadventurous eater has heard of: pad thai, the international rock star of Thai cuisine, and the reason half the world thinks they've done Thai food. You'll find it from Bangkok to Boise to Bayonne, slung out of woks with wildly varying degrees of authenticity. When done right, it's a masterclass in balance. The tart, semi sweet tamarind sauce clings to silky rice noodles that have a toothsome bounce. Add a spritz of fresh lime, a mess of crunchy cold bean sprouts, green onions for brightness, and a wonderful peanut nuggets bring the crunch. You'll find pad thai loaded with wok seared shrimp, chicken, or tofu for veg heads. And while it may now be a global staple, pad thai has a strange history. Depending on when you ask, it was either A, invented in the 1930s as part of a national identity campaign, a unifying dish to rally around as Thailand tried to modernize and distinguish itself from Chinese influences, or B, it's actually Chinese, introduced by immigrants and slowly adapted to the Thai palate until it morphed into the dish we know today. Both stories are true in the way history loves a paradox. The Chinese brought in the rice noodles, but it was a unique Thai flair for sour, sweet, savory, bitter, spicy that made it sing. And here's the kicker: the rice noodles weren't just a culinary trend, they were a political and survival solution. Thailand was facing a rice shortage, and grinding it into flour for noodles stretched the supply a lot farther than a pot of steamed jasmine ever could. Practical, patriotic, and delicious. That's pad thai for you. Then there's Gang Kiao Wan, green curry, which sounds innocent until it hits your tongue like a flamethrower disguised as a fragrant hug. This is the curry that smiles sweetly at you as it punches you in the esophagus. The base is a vibrant green curry paste made from mouse-dropped chilies, lots of them. Galangal, lemongrass, kaffir lime zest and leaves, coriander stems, and a host of other aggressive yet inviting aromatics. It's spicy, yes, but also bright, almost floral and vegetal in that way only something this green and this unapologetically Thai can be. Traditionally, it's made with fish balls, bouncy, ocean flavored spheres that are delightful once you stop overthinking the name. But like most Thai dishes, green curry plays well with just about any protein you throw at it: chicken, pork, beef, tofu, or shrimp if your cholesterol is too low. The heat, however, doesn't care who you are. It's coming for you. One of the unsung heroes of this dish is the eggplant. Not the kind your grandma slices into a tray of Parmesan layers, but two Thai varieties that remind you the world is bigger than the produce section at Whole Foods. The tiny, bitter pea eggplants pop like caviar with a vegetal crunch, while the second one, the Thai green eggplant, is firm and meaty, more squash than sponge. They both bring a texture that's utterly unique, like a stir fry crashed at curry party. And don't expect the usual rich stew like body and texture here. Green curry is often thinner, more of a pour it over your rice affair than a stick to your ribs consistency. Green curry is a dish that doesn't just flirt with your palate, it kicks down the door, leaving you sweating while smiling like an idiot, wondering if you should go back for seconds. You should. Tom Kha Kung. Kung equals shrimp, or Tom Kha Gai. Gai equals chicken. Is Thailand's fragrant love letter to soup, rich yet light at the same time. It has a wonderful balance between creamy coconut milk infused with lemongrass, kaffir lime leaves, lime juice, and the bold, earthy, peppery kick of galangal. Galangal, for the record, is not ginger, no matter how many Western recipe bloggers swear it's basically the same. It isn't even close. Ginger is warm, floral and cozy. Galangal is earthy, sharp, and unapologetic. Tom Kha often uses straw or shiitake mushrooms, and if you're dining in a fusion happy cafe in the West, you might also get bamboo shoots or water chestnuts tossed in. The word tom means to boil, which is why all Thai soups start with tom. Ka translates into galangal. This dish appears to have boiled its way into Thai culinary history sometime in the late 1800s, with the first known recipe showing up in an 1874 AD cookbook. Trying to make an authentic version outside of Thailand, though, is like trying to play a Mozart symphony with a kazoo and a YouTube tutorial. Kaffir lime leaves are elusive. Galangal gets swapped out for ginger, and the balance, so integral to Thai cuisine, goes a bit sideways. Still, even a not quite right version of Tom Kha can transport you, if only briefly, to a place where soup is sacred and kaffir leaves are plentiful. Continuing with soups, possibly the oldest dish in the Thai canon is Tom Yum. Emblematic of central Thai cuisine, this soup's history stretches back centuries, deep into the mists of culinary antiquity. It's such a cornerstone of Thai food culture that UNESCO recognized it as part of Thailand's intangible cultural heritage. Not bad for what started as a peasant fish soup that was based off whatever the catch of the day was with veggies and herbs in a pot. Tom Yum reflects centuries of ecological adaptation and that unmistakably Thai love for contrast. Spicy, sour, salty, and sweet, all dancing together in one bowl. How does it pull off that mouth gratifying balancing act? With a lineup of flavor powerhouses: galangal, lemongrass, kaffir lime leaves, chilies, fish sauce, and tamarind in a fish based broth, traditionally a clear one. Toss in whole shelled giant river prawns and a generous handful of fresh herbs, and you've got the historical blueprint for the dish. But there are variations, not least being the modern addition of coconut milk for a creamy version. The creamy iteration is considered by traditionalists to be a bastardization of the heart and soul of the soup and is thus frowned upon by purists. However, that doesn't mean that changing things up now and again is wholly discounted. Chefs use crab, fish, frogs, or eels, or whatever was flopping around in the river today mix. And somehow, all those ingredients in concert create a dish long believed to have natural antiviral and antibacterial properties. Galangal is a well known anti inflammatory, lemongrass, an efficient detoxifying monster, and chilies? They set fire to your bloodstream in all the right ways. During flu season, Tom Yum becomes Thailand's unofficial cure all, and I can vouch for that firsthand. There was a beautiful Thai restaurant called Royal Thai on a tree shaded corner of No and Henry Streets in San Francisco's Castro district. I ate there once a month for years. The food was phenomenal, and the all Thai staff were lovely people. One winter, I contracted pneumonia and was utterly wrecked. Somewhere between fever delirium and a pharmacy's worth of meds, I realized I needed to eat. Unfortunately, everything sounded as appetizing as a pile of raw lentils. Over the years, I'd heard that hot, spicy, and sour soups were good for illness, especially bronchial afflictions. That wisdom was born from the deeper knowledge of ancient Chinese herbal medicines. I asked my partner to pick up some Tom Kha Gai. I also requested that the chef crank up the heat. Once Chef understood how sick I was, he made a judgment call. He swapped the Tom Kha for two orders of Thai spicy Tom Yum, with instructions that I eat only that over the next 2 days and nights. So, I did. I woke the morning after the 2 day soup prescription with a clear head, a clear chest, and while I still lacked energy, I no longer felt like I'd collapsed just trying to make it to the bathroom to take a shower, something I hadn't managed in a week. Was it the blazing Thai spicy Tom Yum? Was it the drugs? Was it the bed rest? Probably all of the above in concert. But I like to think it was also something more. Centuries of folklore and kitchen wisdom, whether it was a soup powered placebo effect or the real deal. I know one thing, it didn't hurt. This next dish, vegetarians and vegans, you'll want to skip this part. Your loss. It's all about crispy skinned pork belly, known in Thailand as mu krab. It is wildly popular throughout Asia and in other parts of the world as well, like in Mexico, where chicharrones are a ubiquitous snack everywhere you go. It's an ode to crispy, porky perfection, and it's awesome. The origins of the method reside in the Guangdong province of southern China, where it is known as Siu Yuk and is believed to have been perfected during the Qing dynasty, which lasted a long time, from 1644 to 1912. At some point, an amazing Chinese chef with a hell of a lot of time on his hands found that if you put pork belly through a day long process using multiple steps of cleaning, scoring, marinating, and then boiling it in salt and vinegar, cooling, poking, basting, baking, cooling, drying, basting again, frying, cooling again, then rebaking, through this arduous process, you wind up with an incredible pork wonderland of flavor and texture. Through this long and involved cook, the delight of moo crab comes forward. The contrasting textures bounce around in your mouth like a party. Ultra crispy skin, followed by a silky layer of pork fat, then followed by a layer of sweet and tender pork meat. Moo crab is used in a variety of ways, aside from shoveling it into your grateful mouth, either as a standalone dish served with steamed rice and a dipping sauce, or as an ingredient to other dishes. It is versatile in its application. Some vendors use it as the base for pad kra pao, or in a stir fry with Chinese broccoli, pad kana, in soups and curries. Its uses are as endless as it is delicious. Larb, also found with the spelling Laab, which is closer to its phonetic pronunciation, is a beloved culinary diplomat of Laos and is often touted as that country's national dish. Though it has long since crossed borders and planted flavorful flags across northern Thailand and throughout the rest of Asia under different guises, it remains very Laotian. This spicy, citrusy, savory minced meat salad has ancient roots in the Mekong River basin, where food was less about plating and more about survival. Traditionally made with beef or pork, though chicken, duck, buffalo, mushrooms, or fermented fish may join the party. Larb was a way of making use of every part of the animal. No waste, all flavor. The Laotian version is anchored in an Asian trio of fish sauce, lime juice, and toasted ground rice, giving it a bright and sour edge. But when the dish migrated south into the Isan, the northeastern region of Thailand, it took on bolder, spicier characteristics. Thai chefs began infusing it with assertive spice blends: cumin, clove, black pepper, cinnamon, prickly ash seeds, cousins to Szechuan peppercorn, and the occasional star anise thrown in for licorice notes. Texture is critical. This is not just meat mush. Roasted rice powder or puffed millet adds a nutty crunch, while crispy fish shallots play the role of salty confetti. Depending on what you're eating, when you're eating it, and how brave you're feeling, the dish may be enriched with coagulated cow or pork blood for depth and umami, though this component is often left out of raw versions to avoid, well, disaster. It's served either hot or cold, though always with a flurry of fresh herbs, mint, cilantro, and royal basil leading the charge, and accompanied by sticky rice, which acts as both utensil and fire extinguisher. And yes, larb can be spicy enough to make you rethink that first bite. But once the heat subsides, what lingers is complexity, history, and the unmistakable taste of a borderless dish that somehow manages to be both rustic and refined. Pad Kra Pao, or Krapao, is Thailand's answer to the "I need something fast, cheap, and delicious before I fall over" culinary dilemma. A blisteringly hot wok, some minced pork or chicken, a fistful of holy basil, which Americans often mislabel as Thai basil, close but no cigar, garlic, chilies, and a splash of soy and fish sauce, and boom! You've got Thailand's version of the burger, the taco, or the emergency slice of pizza. This dish is everywhere, from humble roadside carts to upscale food courts to your neighborhood Bangkok cafe with a cat on the counter. It's the national comfort food for people who are short on time, but not on standards. Historically, pad kra pao doesn't show up in Thailand cookbooks until the mid 20th century, but it's firmly rooted in the country's wok based stir fry traditions introduced through Chinese culinary influence. The Thai spin came with the holy basil, caprao in Thai, which leads the dish to a peppery, anise tinged, borderline electric aroma. Holy basil has a more medicinal kick than the milder sweet basil or the purplish Thai basil Americans are used to. That said, home cooks abroad can swap in Genovese basil, and while it's not quite the same, the high oil content gives it a similar aromatic punch. The dish is served with steamed jasmine rice, not sticky rice, which is reserved more for the northern and northeastern regions. Pad kra pao is often crowned with a crispy edged, runny yolked fried egg, kai deo, because why stop when you can gild it with a creamy, eggy addition? It's traditionally eaten for lunch, the kind of thing you grab on your break and inhale in 5 minutes while sitting on a plastic stool in the shade of an umbrella on a busy sidewalk. But make no mistake, this humble stir fry is a heavyweight, delivering heat, fat, umami, and herbal freshness in one deceptively simple plate. Pad Pak Boong, or stir fry morning glory, is one of Thailand's most beloved vegetable dishes. Simple in preparation, but full of character. Known elsewhere as water spinach, morning glory is a leafy green with long, hollow stems and delicate leaves that create a satisfying contrast when cooked. The stems retain a light crunch, while the leaves wilt just enough to absorb the deep, savory flavors of the sauce. The dish is typically flash stir fried in a very hot wok with a heap of minced garlic, fish sauce, oyster sauce, fermented soybean paste, and ripe Thai bird's eye chilies. The result is a savory, slightly sweet, and spicy profile that's bold without being overpowering. While fresh morning glory is ideal, spinach can work in a pinch, though the texture and flavor don't quite match the original. Bird's eye chilies, which are increasingly available in markets in the US, add a clean, sharp heat. They dry well and can be stored and rehydrated when needed, making them a useful addition to any pantry if you enjoy Thai cooking, or simply want to light your mouth on fire. For me, Pad Pak Boong became my favorite vegetarian dish, thanks to the interplay of texture and bold flavor. It's often served as a side but stands confidently on its own, especially when served with a scoop of jasmine rice. There's something deeply satisfying about its balance. The earthy yet sweet greens, the salt and heat of the sauce, and the brightness of the chilies all working together in harmony. It's a reminder that sometimes the most unassuming dishes are the ones that stay with you longest. Penang curry is one of Thailand's most distinctive curries, a gently spiced, deeply flavorful dish that brings together warmth, sweetness, and a subtle nutty richness. It belongs to the red curry family, but sets itself apart with a generous use of ground peanuts, which lend both texture and a mellow, rounded flavor. The curry paste is an intricate blend, traditionally made with two kinds of dried chilies, fiery bird's eye and the milder, slightly sweet prickleung, a type of Thai banana pepper. These are combined with galangal, lemongrass, lime zest, garlic, shallots, toasted coriander seeds, and mortar pounded stems, cumin, shrimp paste, and salt. Peanuts are pounded in with the rest, not just as a garnish, but as a defining ingredient in the paste itself. Think curry with peanut butter. Penang curry works with a wide range of proteins, including beef, pork, chicken, duck, lamb, or game meats, each absorbing the curry's rich profile in a slightly different way. What makes this dish especially unique is the absence of added stock or water. Instead, coconut milk is used, giving the curry a thick, velvety consistency. Palm sugar adds a gentle sweetness, while fish sauce deepens the savory umami notes. Finely sliced lime leaves are often stirred in toward the end, their exotic citrusy brightness balancing the richness of the sauce. Served with jasmine rice, Penang curry is a satisfying meal, particularly when it leans into its natural heat. Despite its depth, it never feels heavy or overwhelming. Instead, it's a dish that reflects the careful layering and balance that defines Thai culture. Spicy, creamy, aromatic, and deeply comforting. Masaman curry is one of Thailand's most unique and quietly complex dishes. Another gently spiced, slightly sweet curry that reflects a blend of Thai technique and its Muslim culinary heritage. The warm, golden color comes from turmeric and toasted spices, and unlike many of Thailand's fiery red or green curries, Masaman leans into a subtler aromatic profile. It's thought to have originated from Persian influenced Muslim communities in southern Thailand, particularly through connections with neighboring Malaysia, and it has remained a fusion dish ever since, distinct from, but still very much a part of, Thai cuisine. The paste is built from the familiar Thai base galangal, lemongrass, garlic, shallots, coriander seeds, shrimp paste, and bird's eye chilies. But what sets it apart are the additions that reflect its Muslim roots cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, star anise, cumin, nutmeg, bay leaves, and mace. These ingredients aren't found in other Thai curries, and their inclusion gives masaman its mellow warmth and slightly sweet, almost dessert like undertone. Roasted peanuts are another key element, offering a soft crunch and a richness which complements the creamy coconut milk base. Chicken is the most common protein used, and it pairs well with gentle spices. But I tried a version made with duck that was exceptional. The slight gaminess of the meat played beautifully against the sweet sauce. Masaman is typically served with steamed jasmine rice, though it's also delicious with roti or a flatbread like naan. Compared to the intensity of other Thai curries, Masaman is a welcome change of pace. Comforting, nuanced, and deeply satisfying without overwhelming the palate with heat. It's a dish that invites you to slow down and savor each bite. A reminder that not all flavor needs to shout to be heard. It's also refreshing in the way it doesn't light your face on fire while the rest of your body erupts into a flop sweat. Som tum, the iconic green papaya salad, is a vibrant and refreshing dish with deep roots in Laos and northeastern Isan cultures. Though it has since become a staple throughout Thailand and much of Southeast Asia, its origins again trace back to Laos, where it has been part of the culinary landscape since at least the mid 18th century. Over time, the dish has evolved and adapted to local tastes, with each country, and often each region, adding its own signature variation. In Thailand, som tum has taken on a special prominence, balancing bold flavors, brightness, and fresh textures in a way that reflects the essence of Thai cuisine. Som tum is made from finely shredded green papaya, which has a crisp texture and a neutral flavor that absorbs the punchy dressing. The salad is prepared in a large stone mortar and pestle, allowing the ingredients to be lightly bruised together, releasing their juices and melding flavors. Common additions include garlic, bird's eye chilies, roasted peanuts, dried shrimp, cherry tomatoes, holy basil, long beans, and shredded green cabbage. The dressing is a carefully balanced combination of palm sugar, fish sauce, and lime juice, resulting in a dish that is simultaneously spicy, sweet, salty, and sour. Somtum is served alongside sticky rice, and it pairs well with grilled meats or simply eaten on its own. While its freshness is part of the appeal, it's the interplay of textures and temperatures. Crunchy papaya, warm rice, cool herbs that elevates it. Depending on the region and the chef, the heat level can range from mild to bracingly intense, defining what Thai spicy means. But even at its spiciest, there's a clarity to the dish that keeps it light and invigorating. More than just a salad, som tum is a reflection of local ingredients. traditional preparation, and the enduring appeal of bold, harmonious flavor. Po Pia Tod, Thailand's crispy fried spring rolls, are a beloved street snack and appetizer found just about everywhere, from bustling night markets to restaurant menus worldwide. Light, golden, and satisfying, these crunchy parcels are typically eaten on the go or as a shared starter, offering a savory contrast to the bold, often spicy main dishes that follow. While the exact origin of the spring roll is difficult to pinpoint, culinary historians trace its beginnings to China's Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 AD, where early versions likely evolved from flat fried scallion pancakes. Over time, this concept spread throughout Asia, adapting to local ingredients along the way. In Thailand, popia refers specifically to the thin, delicate rice flour wrappers used to encase the filling, distinct from the thicker wheat based wrappers used in Chinese rolls. Popia tod are typically vegetarian, filled with a mixture of finely shredded vegetables such as carrots, cabbage, onions, and mushrooms, often including black fungus for both flavor and texture. Most versions also feature glass noodles, bean thread noodles, which give the filling a soft, springy quality. While pork is sometimes added for richness, especially in home cooked or regional variations, the vegetarian version remains the most common and widely enjoyed. The beauty of po pia tod lies in their versatility. Each cook adds their own twist, whether by adjusting the vegetable mix, seasoning the filling differently, or pairing the rolls with a signature dipping sauce, sweet chili, tamarind, or even a vinegar based blend for contrast. The widespread popularity of spring rolls across Asia has led to a variety of styles that are now associated with different cultures, from Vietnamese chio gio to Filipino lumpia. Yet, despite their global reach, Thai style spring rolls remain distinct in their balance of lightness and flavor. Sai Krok Isan, the fermented pork and rice sausages of northeastern Thailand, are one of the country's most satisfying street food snacks. The small round sausages, typically about the size of a little ping pong ball, are made with a blend of ground pork, cooked rice, garlic, salt, and regional spices, each vendor adding their own signature twist. What sets them apart, though, is the fermentation process. Traditionally, the stuffed casings are left to open air ferment for anywhere from 1 to a few days. This creates a gentle tanginess and a slightly funky, savory depth that pairs perfectly with the charred smokiness from hardwood grills. The use of fermentation isn't just for flavor, it's also a time honored method of preservation that's well suited to hot climates. Today, Sai Crocusan are found throughout Thailand, but they remain especially popular in the north and northeast where they originated. Whether you are wandering through a busy Bangkok night market or exploring a quiet village roadside stand, chances are good you'll come across a cart sizzling with rows of these juicy links. They're typically served in sets of 3 to 6 on a skewer, accompanied by a handful of raw accompaniments meant to be eaten together in alternating bites: freshly sliced ginger, crunchy cabbage, and fiery bird's eye chilies. This combination creates a perfect contrast: cool and spicy, savory, crisp, and chewy, and helps cut through the richness of the sausage. It's an experience meant to be eaten with your hands, with no pretense, just the joy of tangy, earthy flavors enjoyed on the move. You'll often find Sai Crocasan alongside a variety of other Thai sausages: herbal, spicy, grilled, or smoked, allowing you to sample the full spectrum of Thailand's sausage culture. But there's something about the fermented complexity of Sai Crocasan that keeps you coming back. They're bold but balanced, humble but unforgettable, and as deeply tied to a place as any dish can be. Pad See Ew is one of Thailand's most beloved comfort foods. A smoky, savory, stir fry noodle dish made with the wide, flat rice noodles that soak up flavor like a sponge. The name translates simply to stir fried with soy sauce, and that's what gives this dish its signature taste. At high heat, dark soy sauce caramelizes against the hot surface of the wok, creating telltale reduced and intensified flecks on the noodles, visual proof of the dish's rich, slightly sweet depth. It's typically made with Chinese broccoli or other sturdy greens, garlic, and a protein like chicken, pork, or tofu, though beef and shrimp are common as well. The texture is a huge part of pad see ews appeal. The broad rice noodles, similar to Chinese chow fun, are soft and silky, but with just enough chew to hold their own against the crisp vegetables and seared protein. When done well, the dish achieves a balance between smoky, salty, and savory, with the soy sauce marrying the ingredients into something greater than the sum of its parts. Though deeply Thai in its current expression, pad see ew also has Chinese roots. The method of stir frying noodles in a hot wok originated in China and spread across Southeast Asia through centuries of migration and trade. In fact, many Thai noodle dishes owe a debt to Chinese cooking techniques, which were seamlessly woven into the local culinary tapestry. Versions of this dish, with regional tweaks, appear in Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and beyond, adapted to local ingredients and tastes. In Thailand, pad see ew is an everyday staple, found at street carts, casual eateries, and in refined restaurants. It's quick to prepare, satisfyingly hearty, and endlessly adaptable. Whether grabbed on the go or served as part of a larger family meal, it's a kind of dish that manages to be both simple and deeply comforting, hitting all the right notes with just a few well chosen ingredients. Cow pad, or Thai fried rice, is a humble but satisfying dish that stands apart from its Chinese and Japanese counterparts thanks to its use of jasmine rice and the unmistakable influence of Thai herbs and seasonings. The word cow means rice, and pad means stir fried. But unlike many other Asian fried dishes that use either basmati or other long grain rices, cow pad is built on the delicate aromatic foundation of jasmine rice, a variety native to Thailand which adds a subtle floral note and light, fluffy texture even after stir fried. You'll find cow pad everywhere, from roadside stalls to family kitchens to casual restaurants, and it's endlessly customizable. The most traditional proteins are chicken, pork, or prawns, but you can ask for crab, tofu, or beef, depending on your preference. Regardless of the protein, the dish includes egg, garlic, green onions, and tomatoes, the latter being something of a signature Thai addition, rarely found in other regional versions of fried rice. The tomato adds both color and a bright acidity that balances the saltier elements of the dish. Seasonings are used with restraint but purpose. A splash of soy sauce, a touch of palm sugar, a dash of fish sauce, nam pla, and if you're in the mood for heat, Thai chili flakes or a spoonful of chili sauce. Everything is tossed together in a searing hot wok, often in less than a minute, until the egg sets, the rice is slightly crisped. It's served with traditional garnishes that provide a cooling contrast to the wok's smoky heat. Slices of fresh cucumber, wedges of fresh tomato and lime, sprigs of cilantro and green onion, and often a small dish of fric nam pla, the spicy, sour dipping sauce made from fish sauce, sliced Thai bird eyes chilies, lime juice, vinegar marinated garlic, and shallots. This adds a sharp, tangy kick you can dial up or down depending on your taste. BTW, you should add a dash of fric nam pla onto almost all Thai dishes because it will give a blast of authentic Thai flavors, and it's always available on carts and restaurant tables. While cow pad is a quick, unpretentious meal, there are elevated versions too. In one particularly memorable version I tried, the cook used preserved yuzu, much like North African preserved lemon, which gave the dish a citrus punch that lingered on the palate and completely changed the tone of the rice. It was bold, bright, thoroughly Thai, yet an excellent example of how even a modest dish like fried rice can surprise you. Khao niao is sticky rice. It is ubiquitous throughout Thailand and is much a culinary staple as it is a utensil. As mentioned before, it is known as rice, though glutinous rice, though there is no gluten in it. It gets that description because it becomes a little sticky and chewy when cooked properly. This species has been cultivated in Thailand for centuries, especially in the north, where to this day it is a staple of almost every meal. Cooking sticky rice uses a different method from other grains. The rice is first soaked in water for several hours, which softens the grains and makes them sticky. Then the rice is drained and steamed in a bamboo steamer called cow, nyao kroa. Once it is cooled and served, locals often use it as a scoop for curry dishes. Khao Niao Mamuang, mango sticky rice, is Thailand's ubiquitous beloved dessert. It is a simple yet indulgent combination of ripe mango slices served atop sticky rice that's been dressed in sweetened coconut milk. You'll find it on dessert menus, at street stalls, in night markets, and in home kitchens throughout the country. The dish is remarkably consistent no matter where you try it, and while recipes may vary slightly in sweetness or presentation, the core components are always the same: glutinous rice, coconut milk, sugar, a pinch of salt to bring out the depth of the sweetness, and of course, those perfectly ripe Thai mangoes. The origins of mango sticky rice dates back to the late Ayutthaya period, roughly the 18th century, when tropical fruits like mango were first incorporated into desserts. Over time, this pairing of juicy fruit and creamy rice evolved into a quintessential warm weather treat, eaten especially during mango season, typically April to June, when the fruit is at its peak, golden, fragrant, and absurdly juicy. Personally, while I can appreciate the cultural significance and texture contrast the dish provides, I never fully fell for the combination. I like sticky rice well enough, but for me, pairing it with mango and condensed coconut milk dulls the vibrant, sun ripened sweetness of the fruit. More often than not, I'd find myself quietly nudging the rice aside once no one was looking, laser focused on the mango, which was all I really came for. Still, the popularity of the dish speaks for itself, and when everything is in perfect balance, the slightly salty rice, the sweetness of the coconut milk, and the juicy fruit, it's easy to see why it's such a crowd favorite. Those are just a handful of the classic Thai dishes you'll encounter at nearly every Thai eatery around the world. From humble street carts and bustling food courts to elegant white tablecloth restaurants. Whether you are wandering through the alleys of Chiang Mai or sitting down at your neighborhood spot back home, these dishes form the foundation of a cuisine that is vibrant, layered, and deeply rooted in both history and regional identity. Thai food is far more than the sum of its flavors. It's a reflection of the country's culture, geography, and spirit. I encourage everyone with a curious appetite to explore beyond the familiar staples. Try something unexpected and taste firsthand why Thai cuisine continues to be celebrated as one of the world's truly iconic culinary traditions. But there are also a few so called classics I don't care for. And of course, since food, like music and art, is incredibly subjective, take the following with your own grains of salt. Chief among them, the much touted Northern Thai darling, cow soy. Heralded as the pride of Chiang Mai, this curry based noodle soup is the region's culinary prom queen. I tried it before leaving the US, wanting to familiarize my palate with a dish I'd never ordered as part of my pre departure research, i.e., eating my way through Thai takeout. And my first encounter was underwhelming to the point of offense. On paper, cow soy is interesting. Silky noodles swimming in a complex spiced coconut curry broth, topped with a crispy nest of fried noodles for a dramatic textural contrast. What could go wrong? Everything, apparently. Version I tried back home was a crime against both soup and noodles. A gritty, under-seasoned curry sludge, courtesy of what must have been a Costco sized jar of curry powder and a ladle of cornstarch, sat like a muddy swamp in the bowl. The wet noodles clumped together like overcooked tagliatelle that had not been stirred, while the fried noodles, meant to bring crunch and flair, had all the charisma of cardboard. The whole thing had the mouthfeel of regret and the flavor profile of apathy. It was a culinary disaster. I left the restaurant feeling betrayed and mildly angry at the chef and the Yelp reviewers who gave it 5 stars. Traveling through the Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai regions, I figured I owed it to the culinary gods, or at least the northern Thai aunties, to try this legendary dish on its home turf. Maybe I'd just been duped by some hungover line cook in rural Washington. Maybe the real cow soy would redeem itself and rise gloriously from the ashes of my skepticism. I approached the experience like someone giving an ex a second chance. Wary, side eye engaged, bracing for disappointment, but secretly hoping magic would strike. After all, this was northern Thailand's national treasure, their edible ambassador. Surely it had more to offer than gluey noodles and pasty curry sludge sadness. I was ready for revelation and confirmation. What was I looking for? Not much. Just a bowl with a broth that had depth and balance, something that didn't taste like curry powder dumped into canned stock by a cook on autopilot. I wanted noodles that weren't coagulated into one unified lump by impatience, and topping noodles that could hold their crunch for more than a ceremonial dunk in the soup. That's the whole pitch, right? Silky meets crispy, rich meets bright. Up in Rai, I made my way back to the back alley restaurant, which was really a converted garage with plastic chairs and zero pretense. I'd stumbled on it earlier in the week, lured by a street side A board advertising duck noodle soup and the kind of intoxicating aromas that make your stomach negotiate with your feet. Tucked away a few blocks from my guest house and buried down an alley, the place had a thick chopping block so worn from the decades of duck and pork carnage, it was a countertop canvas of the restaurant's history. That first bowl of crispy duck noodle soup had been incredibly perfect. Rich, layered, soulful, and extremely ducky. This wasn't the kind of spot tourists wandered into. I was the only foreign face there and got a warm, almost amused smile from the cook, like I'd passed some kind of unspoken test. Packed with locals again, just like before, it checked all the right boxes. If any place was going to redeem cow soy, this had to be it. My second time around, I ignored the sultry siren song of the duck, which practically quacked from the kitchen. Insisting it, I ordered again. It nearly worked. My stomach was already clearing space. But I stood firm and ordered the cow soy. My theory? If this place could craft a duck soup with that kind of depth and precision, borderline transcendent, then surely they could nail anything on the menu, including the elusive cow soy. And they did. They really did. The broth was light but layered, complex without being muddy. The curry notes were warm and fragrant, floating above a clean yet savory stock base, with whispers of galangal and mint that played delicately on the nose and the palate. It was lightly spiced, a minor miracle in a country where mild still means have fun sweating through your soul. The rice noodles? Silky, tender, and perfectly slippery, with just enough chew to keep things interesting. The crunchy noodles? Hallelujah! Actually crunched. No sad, soggy toppers here. Each bite snapped with texture. It was, by every metric, a perfect bowl of cow soy. And yet, it didn't convert me. As much as I admired the execution, I couldn't get behind a curry as a soup poured over noodles. There's something about the combo that feels inherently off to me. Maybe it's a texture thing, which is odd since I adore pho, or a flavor delivery issue. I don't know. I've repeatedly racked my culinary mind and can't figure what about it doesn't work for me. All I can say is that even in its most elegant, balanced, and technically flawless form, Kale Soy still didn't win me over. As the old saying goes, to each their own weird kinks. Okay, yes, I made that up. However, what I've come to accept as a sommelier and through years of cooking and chasing tastes across continents, is that sensory pleasure is wildly, unapologetically subjective. If your happy place involves white Zinfandel paired with pickled herring with a sprinkle of chocolate shavings, great, go for it. We all have our culinary soft spots, and one person's comfort food is another's gag reflex. So, well, kale soy isn't it for me. I get it. I could see the appeal, especially after a long night knocking back beers and shots until you start mistaking tuk tuks for unicorns. In that state, yeah, bring on the salty, noodly, crunchy, curried bowl of belly filling and alcohol absorbing goodness. For my palate, though, it'll always be the soup equivalent of a drunk dial. Momentarily satisfying, deeply confusing, and better left out. Pad Thai, the dish with a variability range as wide as the A23A iceberg. Most of the time, it's dirt cheap. We're talking a buck a plate, and does its job admirably. Gut filler with a Mr. Peanut smile. I had plenty that were perfectly edible, even tasty, but I kept craving more. More texture, more contrast, hot noodles, refrigerator cold sprouts, a sharper lime zing, noodles that didn't feel like they'd been merely the vehicle for the sauce, and peanuts that delivered crunch. Here's the thing: pad thai in Thailand feels like a menu obligation. The cooks make it because tourists expect it, not because they're dying to show off their wok skills. Meanwhile, back in the States, pad thai is treated like sacred culinary scripture. Most Thai restaurants there put real pride into it, and it shows. Ironically, the dish that made Thai food famous abroad often ends up being the most forgettable in its home base. I discovered something else regarding Thai chefs and its cuisine: presentation, or more specifically, the lack of presentation. That extra flourish, the artful plate design, the delicate sauce swirls and dots, the vertical food stacks with microgreens adorning the peak like it's auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. At most of the places I ate, it was, here's your food, now eat. And hey, from street carts? Fair enough. You were getting a paper plate and a low stool, maybe. Nobody's expecting edible confetti. But restaurants? Indoor restaurants with chairs that don't fold? Still, for the most part, no dice. Thai food is dished out like grandma's been running the kitchen since '68, and she's got zero time for camera ready nonsense. A scoop here, a ladle there, now move along. That, of course, is not true for all venues. I had some dishes that were both inspiring and beautiful, but that is not the norm. And no, I didn't take pictures. Food is for eating. Strangely, other cultures do a better job prettifying Thai food than the Thais do. In America, we want our meals to not only be delicious, but to perform and entertain as well. We need drama with our dinner. We want our plates to look like they studied under both Eric Ripert and Joni Ive and graduated with honors. The Thais, on the other hand, they don't seem to care what the dish looks like. It's food, not a freaking Monet. You eat it, you don't hang it on a wall. In the US and in other cultures as well, France, we treat food like performance art. Dishes look like they were curated by a design team with mood boards. In Thailand, if the food's good, and it almost always is, don't stare at it. Shovel it into your face. Presentation is for people with time to burn and a social media addiction. Thai cooks aren't trying to impress your followers, they're feeding you. There's a difference. And yet, despite their don't look at it, just eat it culinary ethos, the Thais have a voracious appetite for cuisines from across the world. They're global gourmands with no borders on their palates. Fancy an Argentinian steak the size of a table? So do they. Those places are packed. Sushi bars? Wall to wall with chopsticks flying. Italian joints? You better have a reservation and a bribe. The French restaurants? Fully booked. even if all you're getting is a thimble of duck foam on a smear of pomegranate disappointment. One Tuesday morning, I ventured out for a full English breakfast because nothing screams vacation like blood sausage and fried bread at 8 a.m. I'd seen a place hyped in a local foodie newsletter and showed up early thinking I'd beat the rush. Nope. I waited 45 minutes behind a crowd of ravenous Thai diners, all jonesing for beans on toast and broiled tomatoes. And it's not just Irish breakfasts. American burger joints, Indian curry houses, real deal Mexican taquerias, British fish and chips. These places are consistently packed. I had walked past a Russian restaurant. Yes, Russian. Not exactly known for lighting the culinary world on fire. And it was full on a Wednesday night. The menu? Borscht, mushrooms, and boiled meat. And the Thai crowd? Smiling, laughing, devouring it like it was a holiday dinner. It wasn't. I checked. I don't know what kind of witchcraft was happening in that kitchen, but clearly someone cracked the code on cabbage and potato based happiness. That's the thing about Thailand, about food, about people, about life there. It's not about perfect presentations or Michelin starred sommelier pairings. It's about joy, about nourishment, about eating something good while laughing with friends and family or sitting on a plastic stool by yourself, sweating through your shirt and wondering how a $1 bowl of noodles just made an ethereal deity come to life on your taste buds. Thais don't fuss over the abstract. They live in a deeply practical kind of grace. If the food is flavorful and balanced, it's good. If it makes you smile or sweat or sigh with pleasure, it's doing its job. No one here is posting selfies with their curry. They're too busy enjoying it. And that taught me something. For all our Western obsession with perfection, plating prestige, elevated experiences, we often miss the point. Food is supposed to feed you. It's supposed to root you in the now. It's a kind of mindfulness that doesn't come from a yoga mat or an app. It comes from a spoonful of something delicious and real, handed to you with a smile. So, whether it's a mango that needs no rice, a cow soy that still doesn't win you over, or a Russian mushroom stew on a humid Thai night, what matters is that you showed up hungry with an eye toward exploration. Show up, taste, honor what others love by trying to bite, even if it's not your thing. Because in the end, that exploration is the real feast. All right, everybody, 2 hours worth of Chiang Rai and Thai food. I hope you guys are hungry now. You should be hungry after all of that, right? All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for coming along to spend some time with me this evening. As always, I hope you enjoyed reading a little bit more of the flow along with me. The two chapters we read tonight will be up on the YouTube channel a little bit later this evening for your rewatching, re listening, or listening the first time pleasure. If you know anybody who is curious about Thai food and wants to learn a little bit more, hey, chapter 11 might be a great thing for them to listen to. It'll go through a whole slew of the different things that they can think about. As always, make sure you stop out and support the author. He clearly put a lot of love into this book and his journey and all of that. Show him some love back. Give him a follow, a like, a review, buy the book, subscribe to his newsletter, whatever it happens to be. Show him some love. And if you haven't, whatever channel you are on of mine, and hit those free like, follow, subscribe buttons so you know when I am going live again. If you happen to go in and listen to any of the replays, like, comment, do all of those fun things. Helps to increase the visibility for people who may not have been aware that this was out there. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I will be back again on Tuesday, where we will continue into chapter 12. There is a chance I will not be here next weekend. My daughter has a cheer competition down in Atlantic City, and my wife is wondering if I would like to join in. Maybe I will. If so, I won't be here. If I don't, then I will be. Until I do see you guys all again, have a wonderful weekend. Stay warm and safe out there, everybody. And I will see you guys all again really soon. Have a great night, all.